Yes, we have a very special guest, Mr. Mark Kerr-Jarrett from the West. And, we're trying to get the perspective from persons right across the country. We normally hear from probably economists and politicians and so on. But what about those businessmen and other Jamaicans in various areas of the country? We want to hear from them for them to give their perspective. So today we have with us Mr. Mark Kerr-Jarrett. Good afternoon, my brother. How are you?
I think we're good here now.
Yes.
Yeah.
How are you
I think
doing,
it
my
was,
brother? Great to have you.
thank you very much, sir. And pleasure to be with you once again.
Well, you heard me. I think we need to hear from other people, and I'll be talking to other business people, other ordinary citizens across the country, so we can get a proper perspective. Because you find that the media is normally bombarded with people in politics and probably economics and so on. So I think it's time we hear from other Jamaicans, and that's why you're here. But let me start off to learn a little bit about you, right up until the break at about, say, 12:30. Tell me about yourself and the business that you're involved in.
Um, Boy, I'm a Jamaican. We were a farm with sugar, bananas, mangoes, papaya, winter vegetables, coconuts, up until about 2002 when it really became too challenging to continue the agriculture because of our urban environment. And also the city needed to expand. We had in 1994 developed the Montego Bay South Master Plan.
Yes.
And, so we really turned ourselves into a land development and property management and construction company. Um, and things are going well. And in Montego Bay, we've been really blessed. And, ever since about 2013 and 14, where, as we talked last week, the macroeconomic framework started to become aligned with the business requirements, and interest rates dropped to the point where you could actually, borrow money for productive use and development purposes.
I want to
The
hold that point and expand a bit more because many of us we don't understand the link between interest rates and business and productivity. And we are quite aware we've been through a high interest rate regime. Tell us more about that and the impact of high interest rates on businesses like yours. And of course, if your business don't do well, then the rest of us don't do well either.
well, it's just with everybody. If your profit margin is, say, 15 to 20%,
Right.
but the interest rates are at above 20%, then you can never make money.
What
You
interest
know?
rate went higher than that? I'm trying to remember
Oh
what
no.
90.
I I remember interest rates for during the FINSAC period, the 90s through early 2000s, of being 70% with 120% penalties if you went over your overdraft limits.
But Mr. Kerr-Jarrett, why are you still here? You should have been in business. You should have died by this.
Well, it's by the grace of God, so, and I mean it literally. It is by the grace of God, you know, and we just give thanks. And, as you said at the beginning, we're little but with Talawa.
Yes, yes.
And it is that Talawa that brought us through those traumatic years.
Your understanding, because I'm learning about you and your business before we get into what's happening in the West. Why do you think we went for this high interest rate at that period? Why did we have to go? And that probably did wreak havoc on the economy.
Well, I mean, I'm not an economist, but I
Well, you're a
think,
businessman and you apparently felt it.
yeah, but the thing is that I believe that what
Yes,
happened is you had the premature liberalization of the foreign exchange,
yes,
and the demand on the foreign exchange way outstripped the supply. That drove just record devaluation to the
yes.
point where people were borrowing Jamaican dollars, converting them into the US, and then while the interest rate was flying, they made more money on the devaluation, than it cost them the money to borrow it. And I believe what happened was that, Minister Davis and his people decided that in order to prevent the speculation on the Jamaican dollar, they increased the interest rates to a point where it exceeded the devaluation. So therefore, it was no longer, financially beneficial to borrow Jamaican dollars, convert them into the US, hold it for a while, and sell it. And that, high interest rate regime really should only have run for about 6 months, maximum a year. But it ran for way in excess of that, and it was debilitating to several businesses to the point of complete failure.
You know why
But
I ask you? Go ahead, Mr.
we got through it, sir. We survived by the grace of God, by the ingenuity of the Jamaican people, by our resilience, and by the opportunities that were there, and just we grit our teeth and fought through it as a nation. And in 2013-14, when we went into I believe the New Deal with IMF, and restructured the economy and the macroeconomics, and interest rates dropped below 20% for the first time in decades.
Yes.
We were able to borrow money productively and invest it in businesses, in developments. And, we got started using the DBJ funds, which came out of Petro-Carib, to start the Barnet Tech Park, where, we built it out over several years and employed up to, 12,000 people in there. So,
How
God
many?
has been good. And
You said 12,000?
Yes, sir.
That's quite a bit, Mr. Kerr-Jarrett.
Yeah. And what it has led to is, and it's something that was in your frame for today, is we have really been blessed with the BPO industry, with tourism,
Yes.
with the services and everything. And I think one of the challenges that we have is having enough qualified labor in proximity to the workplace. A lot of time they are traveling from as far away as Negril and Savlamar and Duncan's and maybe beyond to come to work. And so what we really need, first of all, and I think is maybe the easier of the few issues we need to develop, is like a multimodal transport center.
I think Mike Henry has been talking about that for many years.
Yeah, he has. And we have a kind of initial location was posited, I think way back in 2010, which was the old JRC Jamaica Railway lands, the railway station in Montego Bay.
Yes.
It has good road access, and it was a fairly decent piece of real estate in downtown Montego Bay with good road access that could be developed as a multimodal transport center, where you could have the different terminals and the big buses could come in from the long distances, and people could transfer to the smaller buses to go to the nearer locations, whether it's the Freeport free zone, to the Barnet Tech Park, to the hotels on the north coast, the hotels out west a little bit or out east, and really get the economies of scale running in the transport sector, and reduce the hardship on the traveling public, which is really important.
Now, if you can get that working with the cost of transportation being affordable, it means therefore the workers would demand less from
I don't think it would demand less, because I think what's happening now is, I know in the BPO industry, the BPO operators are actually paying the transportation costs of the employees. And so if we could get that cost down, it would keep Jamaica as a more competitive destination.
I see. That is what I'm thinking. But I cannot understand. I know you're not an expert at everything, but you're a businessman and you have been around long enough. I cannot understand how we lost the national airline. I know how we lost it, yes. I was close to that one. But I cannot understand why did we lock down the railway system? My understanding it's a cheaper form of transport.
Um, my understanding
Yes.
is that for a railway, what really makes the money is freight.
Ah,
Passengers don't.
freight, yes, yes.
And so therefore, I don't think we ever really developed the railway for freight.
Yes,
And freight is where, in my understanding, I might be totally wrong,
yes.
but my understanding is freight makes the money
Hmm.
and passengers cost money. And it normally has to be subsidized by the municipality or the local
Right,
government
right.
or national government to keep it running. So therefore, we have such a large trucking community that to see that come back right now with the amount of work that needs to be done to rehabilitate the tracks, it could be very challenging.
Well, I'm just thinking, I'm no economist, but I have common sense. From my understanding of the developed countries are going that route, Japan, China, you name it. And with our roads and with those heavy duty trucks on the roads, they're creating a lot of havoc on our roads and damaging them. So I wonder just on the face of it, I say we need to bring back the railway. It might cost us a significant amount now, but in the long run, I think we'll be better off. All right, we're gonna go for a break right now. We're talking to Mr. Mark Kerr-Jarrett and getting his perspective on business in the West. When he comes back, I want you to get more into that. You have learned about your business, and I am surprised you didn't commit suicide. You didn't run away. You're still here. What a thing! Let's go for the break. So come back. Welcome back. You're listening to Spot On with Vernon Derby coming to you live from Kingston, Jamaica. We're right in the middle of the Caribbean Sea where we say what? We lick the but we Talawa. And our very special guest is Mr. Mark Kerr-Jarrett, a businessman. And he still hasn't told me how he survived that period. Yes, I say we lick but we Talawa. But during that FINSAC period when with the high interest rates, he was in farming, and it's quite sad that he had to move away from that because of the situation, because we need to feed ourselves. But then he's still here. He didn't commit suicide. He's still into business because I know of many persons who uh, left business. Some migrated. There are some who became quite desperate and depressed and committed suicide. So let me commend you. And there's a matter I'll commend you for, but I will not say publicly. Commend you for the work you do in supporting those of us who continue to try our best to support the rest of people in this country. I'm talking in parable, Mr. Kerr-Jarrett, but I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
Let's moving right along. Um,
Just carrying on from where we were with the
yes,
trucking and everything.
yes,
Um, you know, one thing we could do to save our roads, and it has been put forward before, is to enforce the weight limits on the trucks with weigh stations and to ensure that the trucks are not loaded beyond, I believe the limit is 25 tons. We're now, loading them up to 40 ton. And the other thing is, and it's something we suffer from in Montego Bay and especially the Elegant Corridor. And the proposal that Mr. Winston Dare and I made 25 plus years ago.
yes.
And that is to develop a development road from Westgate, Montego Bay,
Hmm.
through Sine, Adelphi, Wakefield, Granville, and hook back to the North Coast Highway at the Martha Bray Falmouth grade separated intersection and turn that into a development road and put axle and weight restrictions on the Elegant Corridor, which would drive all of the heavy traffic onto that development road. And that
Oh,
development road would also open up non-productive lands in the Queen of Spain's Valley for large housing developments and new communities that would now be where the workers in the tourism, BPO, and other sectors could actually find housing at an affordable rate in well-structured communities on a road network that would support mass transport. So, I think that's where we can really work with what we have. I know that the government has been extremely generous and has met our needs in Montego Bay with the Mo Bay Perimeter Road and Long Hill Bypass.
Right.
But in order to, I believe, drive the value of the Elegant Corridor, which is where all of the big hotels are built, and also something like 5,000 new rooms at Hard Rock and the new hotels that are going out in Rose Hall. If we can get the heavy traffic off that road, push it down into the development road, and bring it into South Montego Bay, which is where the warehousing and the industrial sector is, we would then increase the value of the Elegant Corridor and the experience of the tourists in that region as well, and open up virgin lands for and non-productive agricultural lands, may I add, for housing, and make the entire lifestyle for the Jamaicans who are working in those services sectors,
Yes, yeah.
being close to work and also have good housing solutions in a community-based environment.
You see the perspective where you're coming from. You're a businessman. You're looking at how practical it is, the impact it can have on the economy and other people. No, that is why we need people like you to speak out more, because normally when we hear from a politician, they have to cater for the people, and not everybody would understand the things that you're talking about. And I'll try my best to circulate it. So what if you understand where development is skewed in a particular way, is sometimes it is skewed for a principle I said to me was, some of us think from our nose to our mouth. But you have to understand, not everybody will have the kind of vision and the perspective that you have. You have traveled, you have studied. And that is why we need more persons like you who say, "I'm in a business." No, you didn't say that at all. But they'll say, "I'm in a business," them things, that that's about my company. But when you have a FINSAC, we all suffer. Business people suffer and ordinary people also suffer. So we have to get involved, sir, all of us.
Definitely, sir. And the thing is we're all Jamaicans, and
Yes,
we can all contribute. And what can make this the Trelawney Development Road, the Montego Bay to Trelawney
yes.
Development Road work, is that now that the NHT employer contributions, you remember there was an 11-year period where the employer contributions were taken and moved over to government to supplement the expenditure there.
My
Well,
head
I
bad,
believe
Mr. Kerr-Jarrett, but is that all that bad? I was upset. I was livid.
yeah, I know, but that period, that 11 years expired, I believe, this year.
Okay,
And hopefully, if that money is allowed to stay with the NHT
right.
and be used for housing development, then it could contribute to, number one, the new housing initiatives that the Prime Minister has been talking about all over the island, the
Yeah.
70,000 new homes.
Mhm.
But I would love to see some of that in the whole Queen of Spain's Valley with the development road. And also, I think it's really important too that we use some of those funds to formalize and to bring into the formal economy the squatter communities,
Yes, yes.
and give the people the dignity of owning their own homes there, but put in all of the necessary infrastructure and community infrastructure that is needed to make them viable
And to
and
build a
to make
sustainable
them
community.
a sustainable
Yeah,
community.
because
Yes.
just to just give them land titles, and if the place is not structured properly, if houses are literally jamming upon one another, then you're going to end up with a crime same way. Even though they have their own land titles, you're going to have problems same way.
Yeah, but we need to put in the roads, the water, the sewage, put in
Yes.
addresses.
Mhm.
The emergency services need addresses to respond to. And
Yes.
we need to connect everybody legally to the infrastructure, the utility networks. And, create spaces for schools and police stations and,
Right.
you know, medical clinics and everything else that is needed. And I think the NHT employer contributions could
Mhm.
also go a long way to supporting that activity too, which would enhance the rule of law and also the personal dignity of the Jamaican families that live in those communities, and give them collateral and wealth
Mhm.
as well, which they can leverage either for education or small business or whatever they want.
Since you mentioned that about the utilities and so on, I'm sure you are aware of the significant amount of persons living in those squatter communities too. And that's why we need to deal with that. And I say deal with that, to facilitate that they can become owners. You can create communities. That does place where people can live, but real communities where you can have proper vegetation, environment looks good and so on. But what is now happening, many of these communities, they do not pay for utility services. Now, that adds to the cost of doing business, which eventually the consumer will have to pay for. And I can tell you, if I don't pay for electricity, then guess what? I will burn electricity from 1 till 12 and back again, and I will play music 24/7. And that, I gather, that's a significant loss, not to JPS, because we have to pay that cost.
Yeah, those legal utility connections
Yes,
will reduce the cost to the legally connected consumer, because the non-revenue portions,
yes,
which we have to absorb as ratepayers, will
yes,
be reduced.
yes.
And it will, it'll reflect on, one of the biggest challenges to manufacturing in Jamaica is the cost of electricity and the cost of
Ah,
energy.
right.
And we could now ramp up manufacturing and assembly and those other kind of activities.
Because of the high cost of electricity, you're not on a competitive footing with other countries.
Correct.
Where it probably costs them probably 10 or 12 cents, US cents per kilowatt hour.
Yes.
No, I want you to look at another matter. I know you're not into tourism right. Well, I shouldn't say that. I probably don't know. But I find that people who say they're not experts, they have a common sense approach to things. It's just unbelievable. Even uneducated people. I'm from Chilhowee, and let me tell you, I look back on the days when a little man who could have barely signed his name. When you hear him talk about cricket and the country, it's unbelievable. And now we have persons graduated from universities with their first, second degrees and so on, and sometimes their doctorate, and God help you to hear what comes out of their mouths. But tourism, I have always heard the talk that tourism is heavily subsidized, and with the significant input of foreign capital, a significant amount of that dollar is exported, and Jamaica is left with crumbs. Do you have a view on that matter? And how do you think that can be changed if that is so?
I am not a tourism expert,
I'm
Vernon.
just
I'm
asking for your
afraid to say.
general view. I don't want to put you into
Um,
trouble.
I think we've become labeled as an all-inclusive destination.
Right.
And that, stemmed out of the turmoil of the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the Ministry of Education and even Mr. Adam Stewart and other players in the industry are working assiduously to try and get us back into what they call the European plan, which is
Mm-hmm.
where you prepay for your accommodation, but then you buy food, rent a cars, and all of your other entertainment on a pay-as-you-go system. So,
Okay.
and I think we're trying to move back into that. But as you know, when you've been labeled, it's very difficult to
Yeah.
reinvent yourself.
It becomes a brand, and to
Yeah,
change it
it
is not
becomes a
easy at
brand.
all.
And I
Right.
think, Sandals and Ryu and everybody have done a tremendous job.
Yes.
But I think with the new developments that are taking place in Rose Hall and Harmony Cove in particular,
Yes.
could help to get us back into the EP type of hotels and tourist market where
Because
those people are the ones that rent cars and go out to dinner and really kind of get
yes.
into the local economy a lot deeper.
I need
And
to get some more information. I'm going to go for the break, but my understanding is that everything is maintained from overseas, even curtains to be changed. That's the feedback I'm getting. But I'm going to go for a very short musical break, and we come back with you. And it's up to you to tell us, to speak to the nation and to speak to our leaders, because whatever you say to be sent to the Prime Minister, leader of the opposition, and other people in government. It's not just a radio program. I'm sorry I didn't tell you that before, but I hope you got that message that whatever we do with you and other persons, it is sent to them for them to listen to. And I must tell you, the PM, he listens to them when I send it to him. All right, let's go for a short musical break, and then we come back and continue this very interesting conversation with Mr. Mark Kerr-Jarrett. Obviously, a very strong businessman who went through a rough period and is still doing business. So that what, over 12,000 persons can benefit? Oh yes, soon come back. Don't move. Welcome back. You're listening to Spot On with Vernon Derby, coming to you live from Kingston, Jamaica. That beautiful country. So we're little, but we tell. We're talking with Mr. Mark Kerr-Jarrett, a businessman, and he's been giving us some wonderful ideas. And we are going to ensure that these ideas reach the whole country, much of the country, and to our leaders especially. Back to Mr. Kerr-Jarrett. Well, it's up to you now. You have another probably, let me see, probably 5 or more minutes. Probably more than that, probably about 10 minutes or so.
I mean, I'd like to go back to my favorite subject, which is education. Because, a country can only go as high as the people can carry it.
Yes, yes.
And education is essential. I would love to see a program like Jamal restarted, where, adults can go in and, if they haven't completed or they can't read and write, that is made available to them so that they can eventually get the GCSE qualifications and certifications needed.
I'm going to sue you, Mr. Kerr-Jarrett. I've copyright on that, I want.
All right, okay. Well, I will infringe on your copyright for that.
Continue.
But being a subject for the national benefit, the copyrights are void, So.
I hear you. So, or we should say if you could have in politics too. Everybody own everything as who said it first. Continue.
Yeah, and I mean, just a personal, experience of mine is that I have a couple of really good guys in our business in the heavy equipment and machine services side. And I wanted to send one of them to Red River College in Canada to get trained as a heavy equipment technician. And because he didn't have GCSE math and English, he couldn't even apply.
So
we have to find a way to get the people that are out of school
really
access to the educational platforms and institutions where they can do their GCSE math and English. I mean, it is absolutely essential, And I know that Minister Dana Morris Dixon is working assiduously in redoing the curriculums for the children that are in the system. But I'd love us to find a way to support the people that are already working, and that they can in a night school or evening class environment get qualified, and then they can get trained as technicians.
Yes.
And the nice thing about the hands-on technicians, Vernon, is that I believe that those will be some of the last areas of enterprise that will be severely assaulted by artificial intelligence.
Exactly.
And that is where we build resilience into our country. And to tell you the truth, we are in desperate need of trained and certified technicians. Heavy equipment mechanics, small equipment mechanics. Look at the Chinese garage, how that was
tell me about that one.
Need people trained so that we as Jamaicans can open those facilities.
Exactly.
And,
it makes sense to sit down and compete with other people come in and do it.
Yeah. And we need electricians, plumbers, HVAC technicians, elevator technicians, network, food services, everything.
Yes.
We need them certified. But the bottom rung on those qualifications is literacy and numeracy.
But let me tell you, if they just, I gather the ministry is now moving forward with the plan so that people are not promoted based on age. Because if someone leaves school at, say, grade 9 and they are competent at grade 9, 11, then it would only take 2 years for them to probably do the CXC. But what we are doing, we are pushing the children to school like it's a production line. Well, at least on the production line, you make sure the product is being made properly. And
everybody has to meet the standards and qualifications to move up in school. If you don't, you got to go around the mountain and redo that year, right?
What is wrong with that, sir? I want to know what is wrong. Absolutely.
Nothing.
You send the child to school, they become frustrated, they become disruptive, and then no, they graduate. What they get, no? Surfy ticket and expensive gown. We are fooling ourselves. And the final point you have to make it us, and by the way, so I'll be inviting you every now and again. So long as I am on the station, I will be inviting you because you don't talk foolishness at all. You talk sense. I would need to hear you more often.
I really appreciate the opportunity, Vernon, and my hats off to you and commendations for this show. And anything that we can do to contribute to the forward and upward momentum of Jamaica and the Jamaican people, 100%.
Thank you, my brother.
And blessings to you, sir. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, I know what you're talking about. Thank you very much. But guess what? When you smile, you make me smile. Have a wonderful day, my friend.
You too, my brother.
Take
God
care.
bless.
God bless you too, my brother. Okay.